Hi, welcome back to the ABC Networking YouTube channel. My name is Tobias Veninga and hope to have a nice technical video for you that you can use in your projects, in your environment you're operating. And this time we're going to have a look at the multicast DNS gateway functionality. So a lot of you are referring this to Bonjour or to Google Chromecast. So let's have a little bit of a look. I created for you again a text file like I always try to do. And in a text file it gives me guidance, and I hope it gives you guidance in what are we going to do in this particular setup. I'm not going into all the nitty-gritty details of the whole mDNS or zeroconf functionality, but zeroconf gives you the possibility and is created because at a time they were figuring out that a lot of the IT products were too complicated, in particular for home users. If they need to set an IP address, if they need to think about networking and subnets and subnet masking, it is very complicated for a lot of people. And IT should work, because if IT is easy and IT is working very easy without having too much configuration, the adoption level is much higher. So they said, okay, let's for the consumer products come up with a couple of standards, and they call that more or less like say zeroconf. And zeroconf is more or less consisting of three technologies, and the main goal of zeroconf is to make product just work. And the three technologies it's using is link local addressing, is multicast DNS, and is DNS service discovery. So these are the three components where zeroconf consists on, and it is working really great and really handy for a lot of environments. But as I said, it is focused on link local addressing, meaning that it is using, the devices needs to be in the same network, in the same local address space. So what happened was that a lot of these devices, take for example an Apple TV, was really, really handy, and the education market started to bring these Apple TVs into, for example, an enterprise organization. That's what you get with the whole consumerization of IT. So these products users wanted to use in the enterprise organization. But the problem was link local addressing, and most enterprise networking consists of a certain matter of hierarchy or subnetting or different networks and VLANs, and then these products are not working anymore. So networking had to come up with a solution, and that's what we called the multicast DNS gateway functionality. So let's have a look at the release notes. I have the release notes of, let's go up, of the 16.01.0.0.06 release notes here. And from version 16.0.0.0.0.4, we have a couple of enhancements. One of them is the Bonjour gateway, as you can see, the HPE mDNS gateway solution, and as you can see also, it's the Chromecast gateway. So more or less, the same functionality is used to solve a problem for these two protocols that have been brought into the enterprise. So if you want to figure out the details and configuration guides, you download the, let me show you, the multicast and routing guide. And in the multicast and routing guide in Appendix A, you can exactly see what this feature is, how this feature is working, how you can enable it. But of course, you can watch this video because I'm going to provide you all that different content. One step we're going to do first is have a look at service names, because service names, we will always use the service names on as a name and a port, and that has been registered, or you were using some free port numbers. So let's have a look, and let's go up all the way here, and you will probably see that it is coming from iana.org, and it's a service name and transport protocol number registry. As said, there had to be an adjustment here because it was always the case that there was a service and it was attached to a certain port number, as you can see, echo to port 7. But now, in order to support this zeroconf, you also have service names like AirPlay, Airport, all kinds of names that don't have a port but just have announced themselves to announce them as a service. Because what is very important here with the zeroconf is that it is all about services. Services are key because we are trying to find services. We are not trying to find machines or physical servers. We are trying to find multiple servers that we want to use. So here's where you can find a lot of these service names. Okay, let me put it down also, and now we're going to have a look at the switch. I'm using a 3810, and I'm connected to here to the core, It's a 3810M. The core is just a name. I'm connected to the COM port here. So let's have a look at how the switch is configured. I'm not going to look all the details, but you can see in VLAN 1, I'm using that to connect students. This is the IP address, and there is a DHCP server because I'm also using a switch as a DHCP server for the different VLANs. VLAN 2 is teachers, IP address, and VLAN 10 is services. And in the services VLAN, I am connecting the Apple TV in this case. So that's where I'm connecting the Bonjour services. And of course, I want to reuse some of them later on with the different VLANs. But let's do step by step, and first things first. So DHCP server, this is the range I'm using. This is a DHCP pool for students and teachers. So let's have a look if there is any devices already connected. And yep, there's 2 devices, 55 and 56 are connected here, MAC addresses. So let me see what kind of IP address I have. So 55, this one is my machine, and this one is my Apple TV. Okay, so that's being set, and then you can see if I do show mDNS, mDNS is disabled, so the Apple TV and my client are both in the same VLAN. So what I can do now is I can use DNSSD command, because that's coming with the Bonjour service, using -B, and see if I can browse some services in here. So for example, AirPlay, TCP. Hey, and as you can see, I can figure out the AirPlay, and the AirPlay is available. So if I do, for example, services.dnsSD.udp, I'm going to browse all services. And as you can see, I have 4 services available for my Apple TV. It's the AirPlay services, it's the remote audio services, it's touchable services, and it's the Apple TV service. So I'm in the same VLAN. There is no mDNS enabled, and we can see all services. So let me start Wireshark for you. And I'm local, and I'm on 2. Okay. Let me kick this off. And I have an mDNS filter here. You can see my filter here. And let me see if I can browse, for example, on AirPlay. Okay. And can I browse for another service? For example, on RAOP. Yep. I can browse for these services. But you can see that I don't get a response because I already did a browse, so it is already in my local cache. Yeah. So see if I can browse for another service. Apple TV, was it -V2? Oh, sorry, I forgot the underscore here. And it is there. Okay, so what if I unplug my device now for a couple of seconds, making sure I can clean my cache. Plug the device in there again. Let me stop this and close without saving, and let's see if my cache is cleaned. And as you can see here, I do a query. This is the multicast IP address where I query to, and this is the IPv6 version. You can see that. So this is the IPv4 and this is IPv6. So here I get a response from the Apple TV. And in the response you can see that. So let me first open up the query. The query I do is I'm going to Apple TV. This is the query, so this is my PTR. So in the response I get from 56, that's the Apple TV, I get an answer. And in the answer, oh, let me open up. So let me stop this one and let me open up. You can see this is the answer, and in the additional records I got the text record, and in the text record there is more or less additional information. version of the service. There's all kinds of information depending on the service in here. And I also get, you can see the server record. So this one was the text record, this one was the server record. You can see I get a target name and I got a port number. And then you get A records. A record is giving you this target name, gives you to the IP address, and also for this target name you get a 4 times A record, so the IPv6 version, and you got this IPv6 4 times A record. So, and you can see that I get that directly from the Apple TV. So that makes sense because I didn't have anything configured here. Okay, so let me pull this down. Let me do this. Stop this one. Let me now start to enable mDNS on the switch. So first go into conft mDNS enable. More or less what this command does, so let me get back to my text file. So we are enable now mDNS, and what's happening now is we enable mDNS, and if the switch now see mDNS packets of server, text or PTR records, then it will copy them to the CPU and it will verify what it needs to do with that. So by default, the global is to deny these services. So it should not allow these services onto the network. So that's the default setting. It should deny these services because there is a global deny to not allow these mDNS records. Okay, so let me open up the console port again here. We have mDNS, show mDNS. We can see that mDNS is enabled. Let me start a new capture. And let me see if I can get, and as you can see, there is no Apple TV services now anymore, and I'm still in the same VLAN. As you can see, there is also no response coming. It just keep on querying. This is just a response to clear the cache, but there's no response coming from the Apple TV anymore or from the cache. Yeah? So that makes sense. So now in that VLAN, so how can we allow now? So we can do two things. We can allow everything, so that we allow, let me stop this, so that we allow the whole, so that we do a global permit more or less any of the services, but probably you wanna gain some control here. So what are we going to now is we're going to create these server policies, and to make sure we're going to do some fine-grained management on them and leave the global as deny. So let me now first make a profile to see how we can do that. So let me go into conft and let me create a profile for the services VLAN. Okay, let me do rule 1. It's called services, and then you give the services name. So in this case, I'm going to do Apple TV. This is not allowed, v2. Action permit. Yeah, for rule 2. Let me provide some services in here. AirPlay, action permit. Rule 3, service RAOP, action permit. Rule 4, service DAAP, action permit. Rule 5, service is universal. I want to make sure that you get some good understanding of different services in here. Rule 6, service Apple mobdev action permit. Rule 7, service IPP for printing maybe, action permit. And rule 8, service the touchable action permit. Okay, now we have all the services in there. The only thing now we need to do is say, okay, we're going to attach this profile to VLAN 10. You are allowed to attach multiple VLANs to a profile if that's needed. But in this case, I'm only going to attach it to VLAN 10. Exit. Okay, so now we see we have mDNS enabled, and we have a profile here that is allowing different services. As you can see, these now should be able. So let me also create the profile for the other services here. For example, in students, mDNS profile students, and then we go to rule 1, service I will allow AirPlay, action permit, and I will nope, I will not do the other one as mentioned there, because then I can show you something as a funny demo. So let me create the mDNS profile for teachers. Oh, sorry, let me go back. I need to mDNS profile students. I need to attach that to VLAN 1. And let me now go back to the mDNS profile teachers. And in teachers, I'm going to do Apple TV. Apple TV v2. Sorry, rule 1 service Apple TV v2 action permit. Rule 2 service RAOP or AirPlay action permit. Rule 3 service RAOP action permit, and rule 5 service DAAP action permit, and we attach this to VLAN 2. Right, ma'am. Let me do a show run. You can see mDNS enabled, and we have the multiple profiles here. Okay, so now we have all these profiles running here, but now let me first, I'm still here, you can see I have config. I'm still in VLAN, in the services VLAN. But now let me show you the difference. I said with mDNS enabled, the packet is copied to the CPU. So we should get a different response. So let me open up this one. Let me get back to my console. And let me get an Apple TV. Okay, there we go. And I think the one that's watching see it immediately. Here's my query, multicast, and here's my response packet. You see that? And the response packet is coming now from the IP of the switch. And you can see the answer. You have the PTR record in the answer, and of course you have the you can see that the additional record, like a text record that describes the services, and the service record that describes the target and the port number, and then you got the A record in there. But the difference is now it doesn't come anymore directly from the Apple TV, while we're still in the same VLAN, but the mDNS packet is copied to the CPU. In the CPU, the VLAN rules are checked, if there's and the global rules are checked, and then the response is given. Okay. So normally, let me now first remove no VLAN 2 here, so that we in this teacher VLAN, there is no VLAN attached to the teacher's rule set. You see that? So what we're going to do now is figuring out, let's see if we go to the teacher's VLAN, show VLAN, is the teacher's VLAN, is VLAN 2, show IP, is where we can see the teacher's VLAN has this IP address. So we need to, I'm going to plug now my port into, I hope, the teacher's VLAN. We never know. Let's see. I have config. I'm still okay. Let me see. I need to release my IP address. Let me renew my IP in order to speed it up. Okay, there we go. Let me show you if I have. Okay, I'm now in the 1010 VLAN, and the 1010 VLAN is the students, but I want to be in the teachers, so I need to move up a bit. Maybe here. I can check the ports, but I'm a bit lazy. Okay, let me still check the ports. Which VLAN I need to be. Teaches is port 15 to 20. So let me make sure that I'm in one of these. 15 to 20. Okay, let me plug into 17. We do a release again and a renew. Okay, there we go. Let's see if there's now. There we go. Now we are in the 10, 10, 10, 20. Okay, so I don't have a profile attached. So if everything is correct, and I don't have the mDNS gateway enabled yet, so I should not have, I should not be able to do anything here from a services perspective. So let me see. You see, there is no services available, and I will not get a response. So now let me do two things. Let me attach VLAN 2 here. And the last step I need to do. So what I did now is mDNS enable, making sure that the mDNS packets are getting copied to the CPU. Then I created profiles for the specific VLANs. I need to enable one more thing. In order to get that functionality working between different networks, I need to enable the mDNS gateway. So I'm going to enable that for VLAN 1, 2, and 10. And now we have everything working with the rule sets, and you can see the gateway is enabled. So if you do show mDNS, it's enabled. If you do show mDNS gateway, these are the gateway list, and we can also show you the profile. Oh, and the profiles. Yes? Okay. Everything is ready and rock and roll. We're still in VLAN 2 from the teachers. So let me get you the Wireshark. Open again. Let me stop this one. Let me open it up. Let me start a new one. Continue without saving. Go back to this one and see if we can do some Apple TV services here. Hey, we have a service. Let's see at the response. We do the query here. And you can see here we get the response. And in the answer is the PTR record again, the text record that describes the service, and of course the service record that gives us the possibility. So which services do we have in the teachers? Apple TV, AirPlay, AeroP. Well, we don't have, for example, the touchable in here. So let's first go to the students also. So let me plug in again. Let remove and see if I can get it into. I'm now plugging it into 13. Let me do a renew. Let me stop this. Release. Renew. Yep, I know I'm on a new network. Let me do an ifconfig. And you can see that now I'm in the students network. Right, if you do here show IP, I'm now in the students network. And in the students profile, I only allowing AirPlay. So let's see. Continue without saving. Let's see if I can discover, for example, Apple TV. I can't discover Apple TV and I don't get any response here. You can see that in my trace. But what if I doing AirPlay? You can see getting a response from the router with the PTR record, the text record, the server record, and of course the appropriate A records. So working really good, really great to get it all working. So this way you can define and create the different profiles and make sure that you not only allowing mDNS, but also have the possibility to do filtering and to make sure you can enable it between gateways. So where are we? This is all what we did. You can see the show browsing. So we WhatsApp the show commands already. The only thing that I want to make sure is if you need to debug this. So let me see where I configured my logging server. My logging server is configured already in 10.10.55. And do I am on 55? Yes, I am on 55. So let me start my logging server. Let me see. Syslog server is on this one. Okay, it's running here. So if you need to debug this, of course you can do Wireshark. What do we do without Wireshark? But let me exit. So what you can do now, you can do debug. Enable ABCN admin. You can do debug. You can say debug destination. And we go put it to the logging. And then we do debug mDNS. So now we put everything to the logging. And if we do, for example, discover an AirPlay service here, and then you can figure out what these services are in here. You get all the right information. If we do an Apple TV, you also get the debugging information. I'm not sure. Let me copy this maybe and get it in a text file, because I'm not sure my screen is not helping with me now. But you can see here is that you can see that the packet is forwarded, and probably if we go down in the list, there is some forwarding here, forwarded to the incoming VLAN 10. You can see exactly where it's copied and it is forwarding to, and you can see here that failed on gateway, and you can see that it is either permitted working, or you can see here also that failed on the gateway. So because that's not allowed to do that. So I hope this gives you a good feature, and what we will do the next time is also showing this functionality on, for example, our wireless system. So this way, if you are in education and you go implementing having Aruba switches and Aruba wireless, making sure you can support all these kinds of devices without any issue, but you as an IT environment are controlling it. Which VLANs are allowed to enable this, what services are allowed, and yes or no, do we allow it from one VLAN to the other. So hope you like it. If you want any more information, you can always contact us, and hope to see you next time on the YouTube channel. Thank you very much.